Metropolitan Service has achieved during its first 100 days in office. Are you impressed by what the Nairobi Metropolitan Service has achieved during its first 100 days in office? We're going to be opening up the phone lines and would like to hear from you what your take is, and just if you have any questions, comments, compliments maybe for the Director General, you're welcome to do so. We're going to be displaying the numbers on your screen as we go along, but you can also do that via social media. The hashtag is KTN Morning Express. If you'd like to tweet, I am at Michael G. Gitonga. I would like to hear what your take is on that. So welcome, sir. And maybe let's start with that scorecard that you recently handed over to the president after 100 days of being in office, and hear from you. What would you highlight as one of your biggest achievements in that 100 days? What's the one thing that you'd say you're happy about in that 100 days?
Well, good morning. When I presented the 100 days scorecard, it was actually on all the transferred functions. First and foremost, solid waste collection. There were GIPs, there were large heaps of garbage in majority of the areas around the county. And this was a major task because we started off with limited resources, that is from NYS, but from 1,000 tons collection per day, we managed to boost it up to over 2,500 tons collection per day. So we managed to clear all the garbage that had been heaped in various areas for the almost seven months before we took over.
Okay, so you'd say garbage has been one thing that you'd say in that 100 days you've managed to collect. What would you say was the issue with it being collected? What is it that you've done different?
Well, initially, I think the system before, the coordination and being given to the private sector, especially a few garbage collection who had started the work. I would assume a non-payment to these contractors made them leave their work because their bills had accumulated. So this frustrated a lot of Nairobians. But we concentrated mainly on government agencies, and we were able to have a multi-agency effort in clearing all the garbage, and now we just do daily cleaning. All
right, and I don't know what you'd say to Saba Salim. This is somebody who sent a message, and they were saying, walking in the CBD today, that was yesterday, I was appalled by the amount of garbage strewn all over the place. Such a shame. What would you say to them? Because maybe the measurables that Nairobians and people in the CBD might be using is what they see, whereas for you, you're talking about the number of tons that has been collected. So how do we tell that what you're saying, or how do you tally what somebody like this says and what you have to say that you've collected garbage?
Remember that CBD is undergoing major renovation in terms of roadworks and other works. So whenever there are several contractors trying to change the face of CBD into a modern city, you definitely will find a lot of leftover garbage from construction works and other people who are trying to clean their areas. Remember that we have issued also an instruction to all the shops or hotels or business premises facing the road to do beautifications of their areas to ensure that once we are through, Nairobi is beautified to international standard.
All right, and maybe before we finish on garbage, when do you foresee a time when we can actually see a clean city? I remember a time when Nairobi was one of the cleanest cities that we had in the country. When would you give us a time where we'd actually see now a city that we can confidently say is clean?
Well, a lot of these works will continue for the next 3 to 6 months. So I assure Nairobi come December, they'll see a different Nairobi as it was before.
All right, so we'll be holding you to your word come that December, and we'll definitely have you back in studio. And should things be different, then you'd have to explain as to why. So we do know that the president handed over a certain mandate to you. What exactly, at the point where Nairobi, some of those functions were handed over to you, what directives did the president give you in regards to what he foresees for this city?
Well, when he handed over the four functions, that is mainly housing and urban planning, transport and public works, water and sanitation, the health sector, solid waste collection. These were the areas which were very poorly maintained, and we started off, as you can see, the CBD in terms of transport. We are making all the roads that will include the NMT, non-motorable corridors, that is the cycle path and walking paths. The roads are recarpeting within CBD and outside towards the larger Nairobi County. Solid waste collection, of course, has improved. Water and sanitation, we were able one, to increase the water supply, although it has its own challenges, but in terms of informal sector and the areas that are disadvantaged, we were able to dig 93 boreholes within the first 100 days, and we are supplying daily in the all informal sector and disadvantaged areas water through water bowsers, so that wananchi do not have to buy. Okay. Remember, at this COVID area, the most essential item is water for washing hands and keeping oneself clean. So the disadvantaged communities never had it, and if they had water, they had to buy it at an expensive price. So we managed to ensure that water is delivered free to all those areas.
And it is absolutely unacceptable in the kind of day and age we're in that we have taps running dry. We have areas in Nairobi where they receive water maybe once a week and in very infrequent, unmanageable ways. Yet water is a basic need for all of us. What do you envisage in terms of dealing with the water issue that has been perennial since we had independence? Nairobi would expect by now would be having running water in taps freely, but that hasn't been the case. What's your vision for water in Nairobi?
Remember, in all these transferred sectors that were handed over to me, there were cartels operating to frustrate the county or national government's effort in supplying the basic essentials like water, electricity, and so forth. Water has been a big balance. The first thing is the infrastructure itself, the water infrastructure. Remember, Nairobi requires over 800,000 cubic meters per day. Currently, the water pipings can only supply 525,000 cubic meters per day. So we have a general shortfall of around 300 cubic meters per day. That by itself causes water to be rationed. Second, there were people frustrating the system by closing some pipelines in order to take that water to go and sell it. So first is to streamline those, the piping. Two, to register all water bowsers that are operating in Nairobi, knowing their source of collection and where they distribute to. We already gazetted that, and we have now formally registered water bowsers that we will know which point they collect to, who they pay the water to, and who they distribute to. So this has discouraged those people who used to illegally tap Nairobi water. Second, we are improving the northern corridor. This is a new pipeline that is going to supply Nairobi. Hopefully by December, we'll be through with its construction, and that will add another 140,000 cubic meters. With the boreholes that we have dug in the first 100 days, the 93, we are going to increase another 100 boreholes within the areas that have shortages of water in the next 100 days. So this will actually cover the gap that water is missing in Nairobi, and come New Year, water will be free flowing,
okay.
And the rationing will definitely reduce.
So again, December is the time to keep. So I think we're going to be having a very busy December with you to, just look at how far you've gone with that. But help us understand also water harvesting. We often have floods which literally wreak havoc in the city because of our drainage system or lack of it. We actually do not have a drainage system worth writing home about. Then 2-3 months after we have floods, again our taps run dry. Do we have any plans of water harvesting? Because that is water resource that is God-given, so to speak, but we completely waste. Do we have a plan where we can at least harvest some of this water?
Yes, there's an elaborate plan to expand our current existing dams. We are improving on the drainage system, that the water that is flowing or flooding certain areas does not only spoil the houses, but also spoil the infrastructure like roads and so forth. Whenever there are floods, you find electricity shorting, you find the roads get spoiled to an extent where there are huge potholes. So we are working very hard to ensure that all roads have proper drainage systems. The water harvesting, of course, there's a new system of water harvesting in all new infrastructure that are being built. The dams are being improved, our current dams. As we are talking, there are some engineers working on 2 dams. So hopefully soon they'll be completed and we'll have a better system come the heavy rains.
All right, and just a quick reminder to our viewers that our phone lines are now open and the numbers are going to be displayed. If you'd like to call maybe for a question or comment, you're welcome to do so. Also, you can do that via social media. The hashtag is KTN Morning Express, or you can also tweet. And Trix is at Trixingado. I am at Michael G. Gitonga. It'll be great to hear what your take is on this. And you've talked about cartels, and we do know that the governor of Nairobi, Mike Mbuvi Sonko, has forever promised Nairobians that we're going to see an end of cartels. You, by virtue of telling us that, even water has had cartels, are admitting that they do exist. What have you done so far to ensure that you stop those cartels?
Remember, cartels are people who you do not see. They usually operate behind the scene, collaborate with some of the workers within within the system. So first is to ensure that the system operates according to their standard operating procedure. If you ensure strict compliance of the rules and regulations that are enforced, especially in service delivery, then that is the first rule to cut off cartels. Second is to ensure that whatever has gone wrong, you rectified, like the grabbed lands. If you manage to get them back to the public, then you improve the services and you discourage anybody who has an intention of doing that in the future. So we, in all these transferred functions, we have managed to streamline the standard operating procedures, cut off any illegal way of acquiring anything. And in urban and housing and urban planning, we have an e-construction system where anybody who wants to improve the buildings or get any approvals go online. We are trying one way of cutting off cartels is to ensure that there is no physical contact between the approving officers and those who are applying. So if you apply online and you are able to do the transfer of money through the e-system, then that cuts off automatically any sort of corruption.
All right, and we've had these promises from previous governors, from Governor Kidero, Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, promising that cartels are going to be dealt with, but it hasn't happened. What makes you think that you're going to deal with them, or what are you going to do differently that they have not done?
Well, I said first and foremost is to ensure that those systems are put in place, and we have already done it so within the first 100 days. We are still continuing to do so. Remember, it's an uphill task. It's not something that can be finished within certain timelines, but we are doing our level best to ensure that all these corruption deals are cut. And of course, if we deliver to the wananchi the services that they require, then definitely you have cut off the cartels, and you are able to do service delivery at 100%.
All right, let's talk about transport. And we have seen beautification that has taken place. We've seen an extension of walkways and cycle lanes in the CBD and a reduction in parking. But what's the long-term plan? Because many Nairobians will tell you they would not mind not, getting into the CBD with public transport. But we don't have an efficient transport system that is able to take that. And as a result, you have many people driving into the CBD. Now, you've reduced the number of parking, but we still do not have a transport system that is efficient enough to bring people into the city so that they're able to get about their business and get out efficiently.
Yeah, we have an elaborate plan to improve the transport systems that were there before. Remember, in the olden days, the buses used to transit through town from one area to another. So they were never holding in town, causing traffic jams. That's the system we are going to employ in all transport systems. Two, we are going to have a bus terminus outside the Nairobi CBD according to the routes, either northern corridor, east, west, or south. So we have designated parking areas for all matatus and transport system, like the ones coming from the west will be held at Desai Road and Park Road. We have already started making these bus or matatu terminals at these two places. We are in the process of identifying some lands, government lands, from east or eastlands areas that they'll have a designated bus terminus. We have already ordered the buses that will be transporting passengers or people from these designated areas to CBD. The other issue is having the train system. We'll have the trains that will ferry personnel within CBD and from these terminals into the CBD. So this is an elaborate system, but due to the current situation of COVID, some of these most of the trains and buses have been ordered from abroad, and due to the restriction of COVID, there was no transportation to bring them in the country. Yeah, but soon, within the next 2 to 3 months,
we should be seeing some progress.
We should be seeing progress when you see the new buses within the CBD and the train system operating.
Okay, let me just take a few calls, although I'll come back to that question of transport in terms of the bus lane that was introduced some while ago. We don't know what happened to that, and also whether that's going to cost the Mwananchi, or is it something that the county government is going to be taking care of. But let me take a few calls first. We have Jeff Ouma, who is calling from Nakuru. Jeff, good morning, and to your question or comment, I'll request that you keep it brief.
Good morning, Gitonga. Thanks very much. Mine is essentially a compliment, and I think Major has done pretty well in terms of at least the pavements, our city center, and everything. The only thing I really want to call him upon to handle is the road system within Syokimau. After all, NMS also covers a bit of Syokimau. I think the roads are not well. The houses are being built very well, but they are not complementing. The road system is not complementing the building that's coming up. Again, the last one is good. The Major John has refused completely, which I really admire, to play into hands of politics, where they said, oh, we are militarizing the police, the NMS, we bring in the majors, the brigadiers to run. And again, they have done a good job. Again, whether it's militarized or not, so long as we get the service, after all, these are not work very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. We'll move to the next call, which is from Malachi or Malaki. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Forgive me if I butcher it, but go ahead to your question or comment. All right, and I think we've dropped that call. Maybe your response to Jeff on, Syokimau, and maybe as you respond to that, just the linkage to the development that we're seeing, especially around Nairobi and the road infrastructure, because one of the things that has really become a headache in the CBD and the environs is traffic. And this is because of the imbalance between construction and possibly the road network that has been there for years.
Yeah, as I said, the plans were there from before. It is a new invention. I only took over to implement whatever plans were there. Mm-hmm. These plans have been existing for years from the city council days, but the implementation was politicized and it never took off. Mm. Being from my background on the military, I'm not affiliated to any political parties, so mine is just work and to deliver the service to the common mwananchi. On the question of Jeff, yes, we are going, remember the metropolitan is more than the Nairobi County. It covers the neighboring counties. So yes, we are going to go beyond Syokimau when it comes to road infrastructure. Unfortunately for us, we are working within the limited budget that we have for roads in conjunction with Ministry of Transport. We are accumulating all our resources to ensure that the road network outreaches further than Nairobi to all the 5 neighboring counties.
All right. Going back to the transport question, and maybe just to get your vision of how this has been planned and what you foresee in regards to reduced space in the CBD. And I'm sure you're probably doing that to discourage people from driving into the CBD unless you really have to. And you mentioned that you're going to have bus stations or bus stops where people can leave their cars or board matatus that are going out of town. But how do we get into the CBD, and is that going to be subsidized? Then you could also give us a comment on the bus lane that had been introduced previously but has not been put to use so far.
With the bordered structure, the bus lanes will be there. There will be the normal traffic as usual. First and foremost, we have improved the traffic signals that were almost had gone haywire. Most of the traffic lights were not working. We managed to get back the contractor who had abandoned that work due to non-payment. We have already covered his bill and the traffic lights are up and working. That will bring sense in most of the roundabouts that we have congestions in terms of traffic jam because it's actually human control now. Mm-hmm. With the new traffic light system, there will be a smooth flow. With the reduced traffic coming to CBD, so we'll have less headache in terms of traffic jams. We'll have designated parking areas outside the CBD, and we'll have a proper train and bus system at a government rate that will be bringing everybody in and out of CBD. Further to that, the existing parkings in Nairobi will be expanded to have underground parking that will cater for shortages that have been cut off with the existing roads.
All right, and forgive my pessimism, but it's not the first time we've had traffic lights. In fact, under Governor Kivdero, we did a whole restructuring of traffic lights. I think it cost Kenyans over 400 million Kenyan shillings. Yet within a very short time, we still had police-manned roundabouts. Why don't we just do away with the roundabouts and have flyovers?
That's a very costly exercise, but all the plans are there. We are already doing most of the bypasses. If you see, there's a new one coming in that will connect Westlands to the Mombasa Road without passing through CBD. These all plans are there, but remember, infrastructure development is very expensive and will take time. The traffic light enforcement this time will work thoroughly because we are not only doing it by ourselves as NMS, but it's a multi-agency approach, including the police and other government agencies, to ensure that this traffic light system works.
All right, and let's take a few calls. We have John Maina, who is calling from Kasarani. Good morning, John. To your question or comment, and I'll request again that we keep it brief.
Okay, I'm John from Kasarani. First, I must compliment the General for the speed he has to offer the services to Nairobians. And my question is Major General following Governor Sonko manifesto to implement what he is doing, or he has started his own business?
I'll take another question from Malachi before we answer them. Malachi, good morning, and to your question or comment.
Good morning, Mr. Kitonga.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Malaki Orondo, calling you from Game Siaya. Hello?
Let's go right ahead.
I'm calling you from Game Siaya and watching what Twalib has done. I'm very much impressed with his work. And I want to say that the kind of job he's doing in Nairobi, in future, Nairobi should not be it should be managed by that NMS forever, because he has done a commendable job. And I want to say, other towns like Siaya is very bad, and even other towns like Nakuru, like Mombasa, should be given, and even Kisumu should be given that kind of management so that we get good facilities. I don't think big towns like Kisumu or Mombasa should be managed by governors, because what Twalib has done has really impressed us, and it should be used in other areas.
Thank you very much, Malaki. To the question from John, you using Mike Mbuvi Sonko's manifesto, or do you have your own?
No, we actually, when we took over the transferred functions, mainly the 4, remember the governor is still running. He's an elected governor, so he has his duty within the county government to implement whatever he has set out. But these transferred functions, which have not only slowed down with the different county governments, were transferred to NMS. Ours was to ensure that since the devolution started, there had been beautiful and elaborate plans that were set, that were not delivered from the city council days up to now. So I'm not taking over Mike Sonko's plans, but I'm taking all the government plans that were there to improve the Nairobi County from city county days up to now. So I've combined all those plans and made sure that they are implemented fully.
They implemented fully. Yes. All right, let's look at matters health, because that's one of the other, functions that has been taken over by the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. And we are right in the thick of things when it comes to COVID-19. Nairobi happens to be a city that has one of the biggest numbers by nature of the interaction that we have, by nature of the fact that we have many foreigners that come into the city. What is the plan? Especially given that now counties have been opened, we've seen a spike in numbers. What do you see as the plan for Nairobi to ensure that we flatten the curve?
Well, first of all, yes, Nairobi is very heavily populated. Ours is to ensure that the health facilities within Nairobi County have been improved in order to cater for this disease that is affecting the whole world. Ours is first to improve the isolation bed capacity within Nairobi, while the county government is required to have a 300-bed isolation. We are working as NMS to triple that to have a 900-bed isolation. So that will cater for any cases of corona that have to be separated from the normal patients. 2, the current existing infrastructure We are increasing their capacity, like Mama Lucy. Through the World Bank, we are going to have an 18-bed capacity of ICU. Mbagathi will have a 10 ICU bed capacity, which were not existing before. Everybody was rushing to Kenyatta Hospital. So to decongest Kenyatta Hospital, to do what they do as a referral hospital, we are increasing the bed capacity within Mama Lucy, Mbagathi, Pumwani Hospital, and others to ensure that we are able to cater for not only COVID, but all other diseases. Two, as I've said, we have increased the water and sanitation in all the informal settlement. Those are the areas that are heavily populated. People do not observe some of these rules because they do not have the basic essential. Now, with the supply of water to every Mwananchi free, we have distributed masks. These masks have been made by the local communities within those informal settlements, thus giving them something to earn for themselves. And once they have made the masks, we buy it from them and distribute them freely in those informal settlements.
All right. And I want to take a call from Frank Wire, who's calling from Nairobi. Good morning, Frank, to your question or comment.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Go right ahead.
I would like to put a question to NMS boss. There has been a lot of water cartels, water bowsers in some estates within Nairobi. What is the situation? And it's being said that a certain estate was blocked, and they used some kind of things to block the water pipes. What is the outcome of that? Thank you.
Frank, response to Frank?
Yeah, the water system, yes, had cartels. There are people who used to control the valves that are supplying water in every area. Our first step was first to do the GIS marking of all the water points in Nairobi. Then, after marking all of them, we visited each and every to ensure that they are working. Some had been clogged, some had been diverted, some, as stated earlier, people put in things like blankets and mattresses to ensure that the flow of water into estates was reduced so they could suck this water from an earlier point and then sell it to the residents. By unblocking those valves in the system, the water flow has improved. By cutting off all illegal connection, that has improved, and it's an ongoing exercise. Thirdly, by digging boreholes in these informal sectors that they use to thrive to get their money from the poor people, Wananchi are now getting water free, so this has discouraged cartels. And lastly, we have now gazetted all the water bowsers. So we are going to enforce now any water bowsers that is not gazetted will be arrested and, of course, taken to court. So with the new system of water bowsers, soon we'll roll out an application where in your telephone you will be able to order a water bowser. You will know its source, where it has drawn the water, because the water source was also questionable. So the health standard of water delivery was not up to standard. So by knowing which water point, and these will be controlled water points, and at what price he has bought it, he cannot come and con you by overpricing the water that he's delivering. That will improve the system.
All right. And there's also, let me take a last call from Wahome in Kisumu. Mr. Wahome in Kisumu, to your question or comment.
Hello, Michael.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Mine is more of a compliment to the good general and the good work that he is doing in Nairobi. Michael, Nairobians have really suffered in the hands of politicians who masquerade as leaders. And I'm glad that Nairobi is finally getting the services that was unable to get in the administration of one Kidero and now Mike Sonko. The only thing I can tell the good general is that he should be careful not to play in the hands of politics, and politics will always follow him. The good balls that he has dug to the people of Nairobi, we've really suffered under these cartels. And there are so many cartels in this Nairobi, not only on water, but on power and lands. I really loved him, and I would really want Nairobians to rally behind him so that we can get value for our money and our taxes.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Wahome, for those comments, and a lot of compliments coming for you, General. And as we get to the tail end of this interview, matters security, because that's another area that, especially in the CBD, there is worry. In fact, I was having a discussion with my sons not too long ago, and they told me one of the reasons why they would not want to come into the city is purely security. What are we doing to ensure that there is security? And also street lighting. We've seen a number of street lights that no longer work. And this, of course, hampers the security for the city.
Yeah, one of the transferred functions was, of course, to improve on electricity supply and street lighting. We have managed to change all those street lighting that were not working. Some were vandalized, some, of course, due to wear and tear, got spoiled. We were given a mandate of completing 20,000 new streetlights within the first 100 days. We did almost 18,600 within the first 100 days. And what made us not bypass the 20,000 is actually there were no more supplies of streetlights. We bought everything off shelf, and whatever KPLC had, we used everything that they were in their stores to change the street lights. And we managed almost over 90% to change the street lights. So the street lights have improved, and now we are not only improving the street lights from the formal HPS, the sodium-operated street lights, which consume a lot of electricity and created huge bills for the county. But now we are going not only the green way, but the smart way also. We are going to have new street lights that have been ordered. They should be coming by end of August. That most of the areas within Nairobi CBD and its outskirts, all the street lights will have street cameras that will be able to apprehend any guys who do mischiefs within the street. And of course, they'll be monitored at the county and at the police headquarters, which they'll be able to react to most of these burglaries that happen in town. So not only we are going to improve the street lights in terms of energy consumption, because all the new lights are LED and they consume little electricity. We are now going to improve most of them to have the cameras and even Wi-Fi system. So in terms of environment, we have recovered a lot of green parks that were within the CBD that had been grabbed. They are now under Ministry of Environment. For example, Michuki Park and other areas that we are reclaiming, the City Park and the Nairobi riverfront. And all these will not only have streetlights, but also free Wi-Fi for Wananchi to relax. So security is definitely going to improve. And last but not least, we have done our level best to give jobs to the street families. For example, Grogan Road is actually built by street families alone. That has encouraged a lot of them to come out from the street and concentrate on Grogan Road, so because they earn every day 653 shillings. They are very proud of their new work, And now we have got a lot of demands from the street families to give them other areas where they can work. So we believe that this will reduce the crime.
Situation. Yes. All right, General, sorry to harakisha you, but we are almost out of time. And your parting shot, and as you wrap up, your promise to Nairobians and Kenyans, particularly what your vision is for Nairobi. At the end of the term that you have, what is it that you'd want to see Nairobi look like? What's your dream Nairobi vision looking like?
As I said, I came to implement surface delivery and to improve the socio-economic status of Nairobians. And that is my aim. I will return Nairobi not only to the beautiful green city under the sun, but it will be a modern green city under the sun.
Thank you very much. That is Director General for Nairobi Metropolitan Service, Major General Mohamed Badi, who is, well, promising us a greener, more beautiful Nairobi. Is it going to deliver? Time will tell. But so far, with the 100 days, I've had many people compliment and give you compliments, so congratulations, and let's hope the good work continues. So we're going to take a break right here on Morning Express, but do stay with us. We still have stories that are making headlines coming up on the other side of the break. We take a short break. We'll be right back.